Ice Queen and the Firebrand. Chapter 1. The Rattled CEO. You don't pace. So, what happened that you are pacing? The words of Marian made Sasha stop. Her storm gray eyes blazed, fury and fire coiling within her. Osolikina Alexandra Rostislavovna, Sasha, as everyone called her, walked slowly to her chair behind the old oak desk in her pristine office on the 20th floor. Sasha sat down forcefully, hands clenched into fists, white around the knuckles. Her brows pulled together, eyes dark with anger. Marian's voice was sharp, controlled, and icy. Okay, now I definitely need to know. I've never seen this side of you before. Marian continued, but now more teased and exasperated. Seriously, Sasha, you always keep it together. What's going on? Sasha exhaled roughly, closing her eyes for a heartbeat, gathering herself before she said, "Do you remember last month we acquired that Polish company, Wawel Publishing?" Marian nodded. Sasha paused before continuing. There's apparently a long-lost heir claiming we acquired it illegally. Can you imagine the media fallout if this goes public? Sasha's fists pounded the desk, the glass rattles under her fists. Marian rubbed her eyes, exhaling deeply. Marian's voice is exasperated and a little sarcastic. Shit, Sasha, you always do due diligence. What the fuck happened? Sasha's storm gray eyes are snapping, and her voice is thunderous. There was no knowledge of this heir during the negotiations. She rose so fast the chair rolled against the glass floor-to-ceiling window. Her fists still clenched. She picked up the phone with precision. Bring me everything on Wawel Publishing. Now. Slamming the receiver down, she walked to the window, staring out over the city. Sasha Rostislavovna, Russian-born to immigrant parents in the UK, had built Maze International into a multi-billion-pound conglomerate. She rescued companies, rehabilitated them, and grew them into Fortune 500 Europe powerhouses within a year. Wawel Publishing had been acquired because the former CEO gambled with lives and defrauded funds. She turned sharply to Marian, her best friend since college, the only person who could challenge her without consequence. Sasha's voice low, gritting her teeth. Imagine the backlash if this goes public. Marian moved to the small bar section, poured vodka in 2 glasses, and handed one to Sasha. Marian, always calm, asked, "How did you even hear about this heir?" Sasha downed the vodka, fingers tapping the desk, eyes distant. Marcus called. He was confronted by a lawyer representing the heir. Marian's practical, yet commanding voice instruct. Then call him back. Set up a meeting. I'll facilitate. Sasha nodded, dialing Marcus Yoon with exact precision. And just like that, the wheels were in motion. Wawel Publishing had stirred a hornet's nest, and Sasha Rostislavovna, ruthless, brilliant, and unflinching, was ready to face it head-on. Chapter 2. The Heir. The office was unusually quiet for a Friday evening. Sasha stood at her window, storm gray eyes scanning the city below. Marcus Yoon had arranged a meeting with the supposed heir of Wawel Publishing. Marian would attend. The clock ticked mercilessly, 5:40 p.m. The meeting was set for 6. Sasha's mind raced. She had never needed a lawyer in negotiations before. Yet tonight, the presence of Marian, ruthless, incisive, relentless, felt necessary. Marian stepped in, her voice light and teasing. Thought you might need a friendly reminder. I'm here. Sasha turned, offering a curt nod, her storm gray eyes softening just a fraction. Silence stretched for a heartbeat before a knock cut through the tension. Enter. Sasha calls out. The door opened and Tatiana Palma stepped in. Platinum hair cascading in waves over her shoulders, white slacks low over her hips, halter top accentuating her toned form, and a long, flowing jacket completing the fashion-forward look. Every step exuded confidence, grace, and challenge. When Tatiana spoke, her voice was melodic, slightly raspy, teasing with a heavy Polish accent. Tatiana Palma. And you must be Miss Rostislavovna. Sasha's pulse quickened. The air felt electric. She reached out to take Tatiana's hand. A spark ran up her arm, igniting nerves and desire alike. She only managed a nod. Then Marian answered in a calm, professional, but comic undertone. I am Marian Sullivan. Please have a seat. Tatiana slid into the chair with measured elegance, occasionally sneaking a glance at Sasha. Sasha busied herself with the documents on the desk, heart hammering, mind scrambling for composure. Marian broke the silence. I looked over your documents. My client, legally acquired Wawel Publishing. I'd like to hear your side. Tatiana, soft, teasing, eyes locking with Sasha's. There seems to have been a mistake in authority. My father's will clearly states that should the company underperform, I have the authority to intervene. Sasha's voice cracked just slightly, betraying her tension. There was no mention of a will during negotiations. Tatiana, grinning, her voice lilting, teasing. Oh, you speak. Heat crept up Sasha's neck. She tore her gaze away, pretending to review the papers. But every nerve in her body hummed with awareness of Tatiana's presence. Tatiana continued, voice smiling, playful, and confident. Miss Rostislavovna, we could battle this, or we could run Wawel together. Sasha's sharp intake of breath thundered in the room while the city hummed in background. Sasha rose abruptly, moving to the window, the room's temperature dropping with her stiff posture. The audacity of Tatiana's suggestion ignited something within her, curiosity, irritation, and undeniable pull. Marian, ever the practical and neutral, said, This is unconventional. The acquisition was legal. The will, it exists now. But this is unusual. Tatiana rose, sleek and deliberate, moving toward the door. She paused, looking directly at Sasha. Tatiana with a voice low, teasing every bit challenge in her tone. I'm sure you'll accommodate me, or we can drag this into a long, tedious court battle. And with that, she left, leaving Sasha rigid, storm gray eyes dark with both intrigue and frustration. Sasha Rostislavovna, master of strategy, faced an unfamiliar opponent, someone bold, witty, teasing, and unrelenting, someone who could match her intellect, challenge her authority, and awaken a spark she hadn't realized she'd been craving. Chapter 3: Boardroom Crossfire. The boardroom gleamed under the fluorescent lights, cold and pristine, like a battlefield waiting for blood. Sasha sat at the head of the table, posture perfect, hands folded over a folder stacked with documents. Sasha didn't look up when the door clicked shut. You're late. Tatiana glided to the seat beside her, sliding in with grace, her perfume a subtle provocation. No, darling, you're just early. Punctuality is such a lonely hobby. Tatiana lounged in her chair as if she were on a Paris runway instead of facing off against one of Europe's most feared CEOs. Across from them, Marian swirled her coffee like a referee already tired of both fighters. Marian nearly snorted coffee through her nose. God help me. I knew today was going to be entertainment. Sasha's storm gray eyes snapped up. This is not entertainment, Marian. This is business. Business? Tatiana's lips curved in a slow, feline smile. Then why does it feel like foreplay? Sasha's chair scraped back an inch as she leaned forward, voice sharp as glass. Miss Palma, Wawel Publishing was legally acquired by Mays International. I will not entertain fantasy claims or ridiculous joint management schemes. Tatiana tilted her head, her blue eyes glinting. You call it ridiculous. I call it destiny. Wawel is mine by right, yours by paperwork. And paper, Sasha, can burn. Marian raised her hand like a kid in class. Okay, time out. Did anyone else hear the passive-aggressive threat of arson, or was that just me? Sasha shot her a withering look. Marian. What? I'm keeping track. So far, we've had flirting, a thinly veiled threat, and some poetic nonsense. At this rate, I'll need wine by noon. Tatiana chuckled, low and warm. She's delightful. Can we keep her? Sasha exhaled sharply through her nose. Marian is not a pet, nor part of the deal. And for the last time, there is no deal. Mays International owns Wawel. End of discussion. Tatiana leaned closer, her voice dropping so only Sasha could hear. End of discussion, for now. But you and I both know battles aren't won in one round. The heat that shot up Sasha's neck betrayed her, so she snapped the folder open with a crisp crack. Let's get one thing perfectly clear, Miss Palma. I don't share. Not companies. Not leadership. Not control. Tatiana's grin turned sly. That's a shame. Sharing can be very satisfying. Marian dropped her pen onto the table with a sigh. Yup. Definitely wine before noon. Sasha snapped the folder shut again, the sound ricocheting down the boardroom table. This is not a negotiation. It is a courtesy. I don't need to sit here and indulge delusions of inheritance. Tatiana's laugh was soft, almost pitying. Oh, you poor thing. You think I'm here to ask for scraps? No, Sasha. I'm here to remind you that you don't own everything you touch, no matter how coldly you sign the papers. Sasha's eyes narrowed, voice like steel. I don't touch what I can't control. Tatiana's gaze dropped deliberately to Sasha's hands, then back up. Control looks good on you. Shame it's such a fragile thing. Marian slapped her palm against the table. Okay, can we not turn this into an erotic TED Talk on power dynamics? Some of us actually work here. Sasha ignored her. Miss Palma, your theatrics may work on lesser boardrooms, but here, substance wins over style. Tatiana leaned back, crossing one long leg over the other, her smile practically glowing. Substance? My dear CEO, your whole empire is built on style. Headlines, rescue stories, shiny Fortune 500 labels. You're a savior with perfect hair. Marian snorted. She's not wrong about the hair, though. That bun could kill a man at 20 paces. Marian, Sasha warned. What? Compliments are healthy for morale. Tatiana rested her chin on her hand, studying Sasha with those unsettling blue eyes. You pace when you're rattled. You clench your fists when you're angry. And you deflect with sarcasm when you're cornered. You're not nearly as unreadable as you think. Sasha bristled, her storm gray gaze flashing. I don't rattle. Oh, you do. Tatiana's smile sharpened. And I find it intoxicating. Marian groaned. Christ. If I have to sit through this much unresolved tension again, I'm billing both of you double. Enough, Sasha snapped, rising from her chair. The air crackled with the force of her voice. I built Maze from nothing. I don't bow to charm, and I don't bend to pressure. You want wobble? Fight me in court. But in my boardroom, you don't win. Tatiana stood too, unhurried, elegant. Then I look forward to watching you lose, one controlled inch at a time. She slung her jacket over her shoulder and sauntered toward the door. Just before stepping out, she turned, catching Sasha's eyes like a spark catching kindling. You'll find, Miss Rostislavovna, I'm not so easily dismissed. The door shut, leaving silence heavy in her wake. Marian tapped her pen against her notepad. Well, that was either a business meeting or the world's slowest striptease. Sasha sank back into her chair, jaw tight. Get me everything we have on Wawel's former CEO. Every letter, every memo. If this is a bluff, I'll bury it. Marian raised an eyebrow, smirking. Oh, honey, I hope for your sake it's a bluff. Because if it's not, she leaned back, stretching. You might have just met your match, and not only in court. Chapter 4. The Lawyer's Hunt. Marian Sullivan didn't believe in fate. She believed in contracts, in clauses, and in the legal bloodsport of loopholes. So, when Sasha barked her order for everything on Wawel's former CEO, Marian did what she did best, dug like a dog after a bone. 3 hours later, she was camped in Sasha's private archive room with her shoes kicked off, hair a mess, and a half-empty mug of black coffee teetering on a stack of files. Phillips, you sneaky bastard, she muttered, flipping through yet another binder of correspondence. What did you hide and where did you hide it? The paper trail was long, deliberately messy, contracts rewritten at odd intervals, authorizations signed in duplicate with strange gaps. But Marian's gut told her one thing: nobody covered their ass this thoroughly unless there was something worth hiding. She tugged another folder free, a slim one she hadn't seen referenced in the main acquisition files. Inside were letters between Phillips and an outside law firm in Krakow. Most were routine, but one line made her freeze. As per Mr. Palma's stipulation, the successor clause must remain sealed unless activated by demonstrable financial collapse. Marian's pen stilled over her notes. Successor clause. She flipped the page and her eyes narrowed. There it was again, buried under legal jargon. The will had been acknowledged but never disclosed during negotiations. Phillips had intentionally sidelined it. "Well, fuck me sideways with a stapler," she breathed. She wasn't bluffing. The door creaked open behind her. Sasha's heels clicked against the marble as she strode in, all pristine control despite the hour. "You're still here," Sasha said flatly. Marian held up the folder, wiggling it like fate. "And aren't you glad I am? Because, darling, we've got a problem." Sasha's storm gray eyes zeroed in on the documents. "Show me." Marian slapped the letter onto the table, fingers stabbing the incriminating line. "Your boy Phillips?" He pulled a fast one. He knew about Tatiana. He knew she had a claim, and he buried it under a mountain of bullshit paperwork. Technically, legally, she might have a leg to stand on. Sasha's jaw tightened, her fist curling against the table. "No, that's impossible. I reviewed every file he gave you," Marian cut in. "But not every file that existed. He curated your due diligence like an art show. And guess what? You bought the pretty version." Silence crackled between them. Finally, Sasha exhaled, low and dangerous. So, she wasn't bluffing. Marian leaned back in her chair, smirk tugging at her lips despite the situation. "Nope. And I've got to say, as much as I want to strangle that platinum-haired siren myself, I kind of admire her. Girl walked in here knowing she had cards we didn't." Sasha's eyes flashed. "She thinks she can taunt me, manipulate me, and win?" "Oh, honey," Marian drawled, sipping her cold coffee. "She already has half the battle won. You're rattled. And you're very bad at hiding it around her." Sasha shot her a look that could fell a weaker woman. "Dig deeper. Find me everything. If Phillips buried this, there will be more." Marian saluted lazily. Aye, Captain Ice Queen. But fair warning? This rabbit hole might lead exactly where Tatiana Palma wants you." Sasha turned away, gaze fixed on the night skyline beyond the glass. Her reflection in the window looked composed, but her eyes betrayed the storm brewing beneath. And somewhere in the back of her mind, against all logic and fury, the echo of Tatiana's voice whispered, "I'm not so easily dismissed." Chapter 5: The Confrontation. Sasha didn't sleep. She couldn't. She spent the night in her penthouse office. The city sprawled below like a glittering chessboard. Every piece in her empire had always moved at her command. Until Tatiana Palma arrived. The folder with the sealed clause lay open on her desk, mocking her. By dawn, she had rehearsed a dozen speeches, each sharper than the last. She would summon Tatiana, strip away that smug smile, and remind her who the predator was here. But at 10 o'clock sharp, the boardroom doors opened, without Sasha sending for her. "Miss Rostislavovna," Tatiana purred, striding in like she owned the place. Platinum waves gleamed in the morning light, and her suit was the kind of effortless chic that screamed old money and lethal confidence. She didn't even knock. Sasha's eyes narrowed. "You're trespassing." Tatiana smiled sweetly. "On my own company? Hardly." Marian, seated in the corner with her laptop and a croissant, raised a hand without looking up. "Just for the record, she has a point. Also, the croissants downstairs are criminally good today." Sasha ignored her. "You deliberately withheld your supposed claim. You sent your lawyer to ambush Marcus instead of approaching me directly. That's cowardice." Tatiana's eyes danced, her smirk infuriatingly patient. "Oh no, darling. That's strategy. And look, it worked. You've been thinking about me all night." The color rose high on Sasha's cheeks, and she straightened her posture to hide it. "I don't think about you." Tatiana leaned across the table, blue eyes locking onto Sasha's storm gray ones. "Then why are your fists clenched?" Marian shoved the last bite of croissant into her mouth, speaking around it. "God, you two need a referee. Or a hotel room. Maybe both." Sasha snapped her head toward her. "Marian, don't Marian me, Ice Queen. I'm the only buffer standing between you and full-blown corporate foreplay." Tatiana chuckled, not breaking eye contact with Sasha. "Your friend is perceptive." "She's insufferable," Sasha shot back. "Both can be true," Marian said, sipping her coffee. Sasha slammed the folder closed and shoved it across the table. "You think one buried clause changes anything?" This company was bankrupt, drowning. I saved it. Without me, there would be nothing left to inherit. Tatiana's smile turned razor-sharp. Then perhaps you should consider me less an enemy and more an investment. Sasha's laugh was short, cold, dangerous. You want to sit at my table? I want to sit across from you, Tatiana replied softly, and watch how long it takes before you break. The silence that followed was so thick it could have been cut with Marian's butter knife. Finally, Marian clapped her laptop shut. Right. Well, that's my cue. You two enjoy your little Cold War flirt fest. I'm going to get more coffee before the sexual tension gives me hives. She left, muttering something about hazard pay. Sasha and Tatiana stood alone in the echoing boardroom, the war lines drawn, the air between them electric. Sasha's voice was low, dangerous, almost a whisper. Careful, Miss Palma. You're playing with fire. Tatiana's smile was all invitation. Good. I like the burn. Chapter 6. Smoke and Daggers. The boardroom air was thick enough to choke on. Sasha stood by the window now, her back to Tatiana, fingers drumming against the glass. She never turned her back on anyone. Not even her shadow. And yet here she was, giving her enemy the skyline. Why are you really here? Sasha asked, voice low and controlled. Tatiana tilted her head, savoring the question like a sip of fine wine. I told you. I'm reclaiming what's mine. Sasha spun around, eyes like steel. No, you're not bold enough to risk this much for sentiment. There's another angle. Who's pulling your strings? Tatiana smirked. If you want to tug on my strings, darling, at least buy me dinner first. Sasha's nails dug into her palm. Don't play coy with me. Oh, I'm not coy, Tatiana purred, rising from her chair with languid grace. She walked the length of the table, heels clicking like a countdown. I'm just patient. You'll unravel on your own. You always do. Marian had reappeared in the doorway with a fresh cup of coffee, looking between them like a spectator at a prize fight. You two have this weird predator-prey thing going on, but I can't tell who's the lion and who's the gazelle. It's confusing my metaphors. Get out, Sasha barked. Gladly, Marian said, sipping. But if you kill each other, dibs on the chair. Tatiana chuckled softly as Marian slipped away again. She's delightful. No wonder you keep her close. Don't, Sasha said sharply. Tatiana paused mid-step, eyebrow raised. Don't what? Don't pretend you understand my people. Don't slither in here with your old money smirk and think you can claim the sweat off my back. I built this empire from ashes. Tatiana's voice softened, a razor hidden in velvet. And yet, in those ashes, I see my family's name still glowing. You saved it, Sasha, yes. But you also stole it. Sasha's jaw clenched so hard it ached. I don't steal. I take. Their eyes locked. A duel in silence, hotter than any shouted war. Tatiana's lips curved, slow and dangerous. Exactly my point. The intercom buzzed, shattering the tension. Sasha hit the button like she was pulling a trigger. Ms. Rostislavovna, the auditors are here for the quarterly review. Sasha's mouth curved into the faintest of smiles. At last, solid ground. Numbers, not seduction. Control. She turned back to Tatiana, her tone cool and triumphant. Stay if you dare. You'll see how real power is measured. Tatiana slid back into her chair, crossing her legs with exquisite leisure. Darling, I wouldn't miss it for the world. Chapter 7. Numbers don't lie. The auditors filed in like a row of penguins in dark suits, clutching binders and tablets. Sasha straightened her jacket, her armor clicking neatly back into place. This was her battlefield, numbers, figures, clean, unshakable proof. Tatiana leaned back in her chair, chin in her hand, looking like a cat brought into a dog show. So, we're doing spreadsheets now? How arousing. Sasha ignored her, laser-focused on the lead auditor. Quarterly review. Revenue margins up by 12%, overhead down by 8%, projections stable. Wawel is flourishing under Maze International. The man cleared his throat. Yes, Ms. Rostislavovna. In fact, our analysis shows Wawel has outperformed all comparable publishers in the region since the acquisition. Sasha's lips curved, thin but deadly. She turned to Tatiana. Facts. not foreplay. Tatiana applauded softly, the sound echoing in the sterile boardroom. Bravo, darling. The empire thrives. I suppose I should thank you for watering the roses in my stolen garden. Your garden was overgrown and dying, Sasha snapped. I pruned. I cultivated. I revived. Without me, Wawa would have been 6 feet under. Tatiana tilted her head, eyes glinting like blades. Funny. Graves are excellent at keeping secrets. I wonder what's buried in Wawel's. Before Sasha could respond, the door banged open. Marian stumbled in, papers under one arm, hair slightly wild, like she'd sprinted straight from a conspiracy bunker. Sorry to interrupt, she panted. Actually, not sorry, because holy hell, you need to hear this. Sasha pinched the bridge of her nose. Marian. No, listen, Marian said, slapping a folder onto the table. I dug into old records, back when Mr. Kowalski was still CEO. Guess what I found? Tatiana wasn't just ignored during the acquisition. She was deliberately excluded. He changed bylaws, blocked her proxies, locked her out of votes she should have had a say in. It wasn't negligence. It was surgical. Tatiana's lips curved, slow and dangerous. She didn't even need to speak. The triumph in her silence was deafening. For the first time that day, Sasha's perfect posture faltered. Chapter 8: Confession and Confrontation. Sasha stormed into her private office, closing the door with a deliberate snap. She flopped into her chair behind the desk, fists gripping the arms. Her storm-gray eyes were hard, calculating, but underneath, fire. Marian had followed, shoes clicking against the polished floor. You summoned me, or is this a hostage situation? Sasha's glare could have frozen the Thames. Explain yourself. Do you realize what you just did? Walking in, waving that folder, throwing evidence in front of me like a dare. Marian shrugged, leaning casually against the edge of the desk. I didn't dare. I informed. You asked me to dig, I dug. Honestly, I was hoping for a little bit of drama, but the moral hazard of watching you squirm is a delightful bonus. Sasha's fists unclenched, her voice tight with barely restrained fury. You don't throw things at me in my own office, Marian. I rely on you. You're supposed to have my back. I do have your back, Marian said, smirking, unrepentant. But sometimes having your back means holding a mirror up to your face. And right now, the mirror is showing you a CEO who can't see the forest for her spreadsheets. Sasha's temple throbbed. I don't need mirrors. I need loyalty. Marian pushed off the desk and stepped closer, her tone softening. I'm loyal. That's why I dug deeper. Because you'd never let her walk in here without knowing the truth. You'd fight blind, and that's the only way you lose. Sasha leaned back, jaw tight. So, you did this for me? Marian shrugged, eyes twinkling. Partly. Mostly because I like watching you wrestle with a problem that actually has teeth. Admit it, it's thrilling to watch your carefully controlled empire wobble. Sasha's lips twitched, almost a smile, but her stormy gaze never left Marian's. You're insufferable. And yet, Marian said, tilting her head, you keep me around. Why is that? Because you're good at your job, Sasha said finally, voice low. Then she added, softer, almost grudgingly, and because you see me. Really see me. Marian's smirk softened into a sly grin. I told you, mirrors, Ice Queen. Sometimes they bite back. Sasha exhaled, closing her eyes for a moment. All right. You win this round. But if I die in court because of this? You won't die, Marian said, patting her shoulder. But if you do, remember, I warned you. Sasha couldn't help the flicker of humor that crossed her face. I'll kill you first. And that, Marian said, walking toward the door with a mischievous twirl, is why I love working for you. Chapter 9: Tatiana's Move. The boardroom smelled faintly of coffee and tension. Sasha arrived early, adjusting her suit with precision, every movement a study in control. Tatiana was already there, sitting casually at the far end of the table, a glass of water in her hand, her platinum hair catching the morning light like spun silver. Ah, Tatiana said, her voice soft, melodic, with a hint of amusement. So punctual. How predictable. Sasha arched an eyebrow. I like knowing the battlefield before the battle begins. Tatiana's eyes sparkled, teasing. And do you always measure people like that? Strategically, clinically, scanning for weaknesses before anyone even speaks. Always, Sasha replied evenly. Otherwise, you lose before the fight starts. Tatiana sipped her water, unbothered. And yet here I am. Not lost. Perhaps a surprise isn't such a terrible thing after all. Sasha's hands clenched briefly on the table. I've seen surprises before. They rarely end well for those who underestimate me. Tatiana leaned forward, her elbows resting lightly on the polished surface, chin tilted in mock curiosity. Oh? And what happens when the unexpected isn't something to be crushed, but something invigorating? Sasha's storm-gray eyes narrowed. Miss Palma, are you here to negotiate or to flirt with disaster? Tatiana smiled, dangerously sweet. Why not both? Sasha's fists relaxed fractionally, her jaw tight. Let me remind you, Wawel is legally mine. Legally. Every step you take in here is audacious at best. Tatiana's blue eyes glimmered. I adore audacity. Especially when it's wrapped in storm-gray eyes and a suit that makes angels jealous. Sasha's lips twitched with the hint of a smile, but her tone snapped. Focus, Miss Palma. You're here with a claim, not a catwalk show. Tatiana tilted her head, slow, deliberate, as if weighing every word. I'm here with a proposal. Wawel deserves leadership that understands its legacy, not just its bottom line. You saved it. I want to honor it. Together. Sasha's hand hovered over the folder Marion had left on the table, the evidence of Tatiana's claim stark and undeniable. You think you can waltz in and dictate terms? That I'll just... Not dictate, Tatiana interrupted, her voice soft but sharp. Collaborate. Co-lead. Watch you struggle, even if you want. But the question isn't about me winning. It's about whether you can admit that maybe. I have a point. Sasha's stormy gaze locked on her. I don't admit points to anyone. Tatiana's grin widened, faint, knowing. I like that. You're stubborn. Dangerous. Fascinating. Which makes this game infinitely more fun. Sasha exhaled slowly, sitting back in her chair, pinching the bridge of her nose. You're insufferable. And yet, Tatiana said softly, leaning back, folding her hands in front of her, you can't stop thinking about me, can you? Sasha's eyes flicked away. You'd be wise to focus on your documents. Tatiana's smile was merciless. Oh, I plan to. But distractions, they have a way of finding you. The tension lingered, taut, electric, as the morning sun glinted across the polished boardroom. For the first time, Sasha felt the thrill of a challenge she couldn't crush with law, spreadsheets, or sheer force. And Tatiana? She was savoring every moment. Chapter 10: The Corporate Duel. The boardroom had transformed into a war zone. Not with guns or fists, but with contracts, spreadsheets, and words sharper than any blade. Sasha stood at the head of the table, the folder from Marion open, evidence of Tatiana's claim like a ticking time bomb before her. Every movement precise, every gesture controlled. Tatiana lounged at the opposite end, posture relaxed, smile infuriatingly calm. Her platinum hair shimmered in the afternoon light like a halo with a hint of devilry. Miss Rostislavovna, Tatiana began, voice smooth, playful, I trust you're not planning to crush me before lunch? Sasha's storm-gray eyes narrowed. I don't crush people without reason. But I don't tolerate audacity either. Tatiana leaned forward, elbows resting lightly on the table. Good. Because audacity, darling, is exactly what this company needs. A little spice between the spreadsheets. Sasha's jaw tightened. Wawel was dying before I rescued it. Every decision I made was legal, calculated, necessary. I don't need theatrical advice from someone whose family got sidestepped for decades. Tatiana's grin was slow, knowing. Sidestepped? Oh, I see. You mean carefully ignored. Curiously. Systematically. Mr. Kowalski made quite the effort to keep me out of the loop. But here I am. And I intend to play. Sasha slammed her palm on the table. Play? You waltz in here thinking you can dictate terms, co-lead with me? Wawel is my responsibility. I saved it. Saved it. Tatiana's voice dripped amusement. Or just claim the glory while others, namely me, were written out? I admire your work, truly. But pretending I don't exist in the legacy of this company. She tapped the folder on the table. That's naive. Dangerous, even. Sasha's fists clenched. I don't negotiate threats wrapped in smiles. Oh, but you do, Tatiana countered, leaning back, folding her hands delicately. You just haven't realized it yet. Sasha's storm gray gaze sharpened. You think you can intimidate me with your charm? I don't think, Tatiana purred. I know. You're infuriating, stubborn, deliciously impossible. And yet here you are, counting the seconds until I speak, waiting for me to make the first move. Admit it. Sasha took a deep breath, a cold smile tugging at the corner of her lips. Fine. Let's make this interesting. You want co-leadership? Then show me the leverage. Show me how you intend to make Wawel flourish, without me losing control. Tatiana's blue eyes gleamed, calculating. Gladly. I've already reviewed the previous CEO's files, thanks to your delightful lawyer friend. And I've identified exactly where we can optimize, restructure, and inject the energy that Wawel needs. Legally, financially, and strategically. Sasha's lips twitched. I'll be judging every suggestion, Miss Palma. Every single one. And I wouldn't want it any other way, Tatiana replied, voice soft but cutting, each word a challenge. Consider this the beginning of a rather exhilarating partnership. Marian peeked in from the doorway, smirk in place. Oh yes. Exhilarating. I feel like I should sell popcorn for this. Sasha's hand shot toward the door. Marian. I'm staying, Marian interrupted, voice cheerful. Somebody's gotta witness history in the making. And, honestly, I don't trust either of you to play nice without an audience. Tatiana laughed softly, a sound both melodic and dangerous. Then let's dance. Sasha exhaled slowly, pinching the bridge of her nose, feeling the thrill she hadn't realized she'd been craving. The battle lines were drawn. And for the first time, Sasha realized she had met her match. Chapter 11, The First Move. Sasha arrived at Wawel's London office early, her mind still buzzing from yesterday's verbal jousting. She expected Tatiana to follow the predictable pattern: charm, threaten, retreat. What she didn't expect was subtlety. By the time she reached the operations floor, the first clue was obvious. The atmosphere had shifted. Employees moved with a strange urgency, hushed whispers bouncing off the walls. Sasha's storm gray eyes scanned the room. Efficiency hadn't been this chaotic in months. Her assistant appeared beside her. Miss Rostislavovna, some changes in the workflow. Miss Tatiana Palma implemented them this morning. Says she wanted to improve integration. Sasha's hand tightened on the folder she carried. Integration? Yes, ma'am. She, realigned reporting structures, adjusted project timelines, and even modified the editorial approvals. Everyone seems surprisingly on board. Sasha's lips pressed into a thin line. She strode toward the operations manager, her heels clicking like a metronome of command. Explain these changes, she demanded, voice sharp. The manager, flustered but trying to maintain composure, stammered. Miss Palma said these changes would optimize workflow and, improve efficiency. She asked us to implement them immediately. Sasha's storm gray eyes narrowed. Immediately? Yes, ma'am. From the corner of her eye, she caught movement. Tatiana appeared silently, leaning against the railing of the mezzanine above, blue eyes gleaming, lips curved with that infuriating smirk. Morning, Ice Queen, Tatiana purred. I hope you like surprises. Sasha froze, fingers tightening around the folder. You didn't. I did, Tatiana interrupted softly, and they loved it. The staff responded better than I imagined. Wawel's productivity is up by almost 20% this morning alone. Sasha's jaw clenched. She had trained herself to anticipate every move, to see every angle, but this was audacious and brilliant. Tatiana had infiltrated the very veins of the company without so much as a whisper to Sasha. You should have told me, Sasha hissed, voice low, dangerous. Tatiana descended the stairs, each step deliberate, mesmerizing. And ruin the fun? I wanted to see if you could adapt. You thrive on control, Sasha, but control isn't about stopping the chaos, it's about mastering it. Sasha's hands trembled slightly, not with fear, but with recognition. She was impressed. And unsettled. You're infuriating. And yet, Tatiana said softly, standing close enough that Sasha could feel her presence like a charge in the air. You're paying attention. You're reacting. That's what counts. You always say the strongest leaders are those who adapt. Consider this a test. Sasha's storm gray eyes met hers, sharp, calculating, and just a hint of reluctant admiration flickered there. A test, huh? Tatiana's smirk deepened. You'll do fine. Or, you'll have fun failing. Sasha pinched the bridge of her nose, exhaling slowly. The Ice Queen realized two things at once. One, Tatiana was smarter and sneakier than she had given her credit for. Two, this was going to be more than a game. It was a war with sparks she hadn't anticipated. And she had no idea whether she hated it or loved it. Chapter 12, The Counterstrike. Sasha entered Wawel's main floor with a determined stride, the folder of Tatiana's morning enhancements clutched like a shield. Her heels clicked a warning, Ice Queen on patrol. Tatiana was already there, leaning over a stack of proposals, blue eyes lifted in that infuriating, amused way. Ah, Sasha. Early. Observing the chaos or enjoying the calm before it? Neither, Sasha said sharply. I'm here to restore order, my way. Tatiana straightened, a sly smile dancing across her lips. Order is subjective, darling. Chaos has personality. Sasha moved toward the table where Tatiana had placed her strategic plan. She bent to pick up a document, and their hands brushed. Just for a moment. A spark. Electric, undeniable. Both froze. Tatiana's lips curved knowingly. That was interesting. Sasha's storm gray eyes flickered, jaw tightening. Focus. Tatiana laughed softly, the sound teasing and melodic. Always business with you. Never play. Sasha rolled her eyes, exhaling slowly. Fine. Then watch closely. She pulled the folder open, scanning Tatiana's changes, then began making rapid notes, rearranging workflow schedules, subtly shifting leadership oversight back under her control, without reversing Tatiana's improvements. I see what you did, Sasha said, tone clipped, and I'll admit, clever. But we'll do this my way. It's more sustainable, more precise. Tatiana leaned closer, just enough that Sasha could feel her presence. And what if I prefer a little chaos, a little excitement? Sasha's hand, moving to adjust a chart, brushed Tatiana's again. Sparks. Both jerked slightly, the tension undeniable now. Miss Palma, Sasha said, voice low, sharp, I control the company. I always do. But she paused, a faint smirk tugging at her lips. I might consider letting you keep some of your flair, if it proves effective. Tatiana's grin widened, dangerous and playful. Consider me your test then. Marion peeked from the corner, smirking at the tension radiating off them. Oh, this is delicious. I may need a front row seat for the sparks alone. Sasha pinched the bridge of her nose, exhaling, but there was something in her chest, a flutter she couldn't quite name. Irritation? Admiration? Something else? Tatiana straightened, eyes sparkling. Shall we call this the beginning of a rather dynamic collaboration? Sasha's lips twitched. Dynamic. Don't get used to it. Tatiana's smile deepened. Oh, I don't plan to. I intend to enjoy every moment. The first day of the corporate duel ended, but the unspoken electricity between them promised that this war of strategy would be far from mundane. Every chart, every spreadsheet, every move now carried the potential for sparks, and Sasha was both thrilled and infuriated by it. Chapter 13, The Bold Move. The conference room smelled faintly of coffee and tension, with a hint of polished wood. Sasha strode in, folder clutched, heels clicking like a war drum. Tatiana was already there, casually perched on the edge of the table, one leg tucked under her, blue eyes gleaming with mischief. Morning, Tatiana said smoothly, voice soft, teasing. I hope you slept well. Or did you dream of me rearranging Wawel while you weren't looking? Sasha's storm gray eyes narrowed. I don't dream about work. And I certainly don't dream about you. Tatiana's grin widened. Yet you're here. Early. Thinking about me. Sasha's lips twitched. You're insufferable. Compliments, darling, Tatiana replied. They're coming. Slowly. Ignoring her, Sasha laid out the folder of workflow adjustments she had made yesterday. I reviewed your morning changes. Some are effective. Some are inefficient. Here's what we're keeping, here's what's going back under my oversight. Tatiana rose gracefully, moving to stand beside the table, leaning over slightly. Their hands brushed as she reached for a chart. Sparks. Unmistakable. Both froze, subtle heat creeping along their arms. You're persistent, Sasha said, voice tight. I'll give you that. But persistence doesn't win wars. Tatiana's lips curved knowingly. No? Perhaps it depends on how you play. Take this initiative I implemented. She tapped a tablet showing a sudden uptick in employee engagement. A voluntary mentorship program. Encouraged collaboration across departments. Productivity already up 5% today. Sasha exhaled, scanning the data. Her storm gray eyes flicked to Tatiana, sharp, calculating. You did this? Without telling me? Subtly, Tatiana said, soft, teasing. A test. To see if you notice. You did. Points for you. Sasha's hand brushed Tatiana's again as she slid a document back toward her. Sparks. Both felt it. The air charged. You're dangerous, Sasha said finally, low and measured. Not just to Wawel, but to me. Tatiana's grin deepened. I'm meant to be, darling. Challenge keeps life thrilling. And I do enjoy seeing that storm of yours. Sasha's lips twitched, the faintest ghost of a smile tugging at the corner. This collaboration, she said, tone clipped, better stay professional. Oh, it will, Tatiana said softly, moving closer under the guise of reviewing documents. Professional for now. But consider this, influence grows in small, clever increments. You've already noticed one. Imagine the rest. Sasha pinched the bridge of her nose, exhaling. She was aware, irritated, and thrilled all at once. Her perfectly controlled empire had just gained a provocateur. Marian peeked in from the doorway, smirk wide. Oh, I love the subtle sparks. The electricity is palpable. Should I call the fire department? Sasha glared at her, stormy and dangerous. Shut up, Marian. Tatiana laughed softly, a sound both teasing and hypnotic. Don't worry, Ice Queen. You'll survive. Perhaps even enjoy it. Sasha's eyes met hers, sharp and stormy, and just for a moment, the battlefield wasn't just spreadsheets and workflow charts. It was something more. Chapter 14. The Cornered Queen. Sasha stormed into her private office, the city skyline sprawling behind her like a battlefield she had always conquered. Today, however, the battlefield had a new opponent, Tatiana Palma. She barely had time to sit before Tatiana appeared, almost silently, leaning against the doorframe with that infuriating smirk. Blue eyes sparkling, one hand tucked casually in her jacket pocket. Ah, Ice Queen, Tatiana purred, voice smooth, teasing. I hope you don't mind me dropping by. Sasha's storm gray eyes narrowed. Mind? I don't mind visitors. But I do mind being blindsided. Tatiana stepped inside, closing the door behind her. Blindsided? Oh, I wouldn't call it that. Strategic, maybe. Efficient. And, perhaps, slightly exhilarating. Sasha rose, storming toward the desk, then stopped abruptly. Tatiana had subtly cornered her, placing herself between Sasha and the door. The sudden closeness sent a shiver along Sasha's spine she wasn't ready to name. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Sasha demanded, voice tight. Tatiana's smirk widened. Enjoying what, exactly? Watching you squirm under pressure? Or noticing how easily you react when I get a little close? Sasha's fists clenched, but her chest betrayed her with a rapid heartbeat. Miss Palma, step back. I'm warning you. Tatiana leaned slightly, enough that Sasha could feel the warmth of her presence. Step back? I think we both know that would be difficult. For you. Sasha's storm gray eyes locked on hers, fierce, calculating, and betrayed by a flicker of something else. She forced herself to take a measured breath. This isn't about us. This is about Wawal. Business. Strategy. Tatiana's gaze softened just a fraction, teasing, daring. Business and strategy have a funny way of getting personal, don't they? Sasha gritted her teeth, circling the desk. I control this company. I always control. Nothing, no one interferes with that. Tatiana stepped closer, brushing the back of her hand lightly against Sasha's as she passed by to grab a document. Sparks. Electric. Sasha froze mid-step. You're dangerous, Sasha breathed, low, barely audible. Not dangerous, Tatiana replied softly, tilting her head. Exciting. Challenging. Necessary. Sasha's fists relaxed fractionally, her mind a whirl of strategy, control, and heat. Tatiana had cornered her, yes, but she hadn't lost the fight. Not yet. And, Tatiana added, voice dipping, intimate, teasing, I hope you don't mind, a little friendly competition. Sasha's lips twitched, stormy gaze hard, yet a faint ghost of a smile tugged at her mouth. Friendly, huh? You have a funny definition of friendly. Tatiana's blue eyes sparkled with mischief. I think you'll adjust. Or, perhaps I'll enjoy watching you try. The air in the office was charged, electric, and unspoken. Outside, the city thrummed in its usual rhythm, but inside, Sasha felt something new: tension, strategy, and desire, all locked in a dangerous, thrilling orbit. Chapter 15. The Counter-Counter. The boardroom was quiet, too quiet. Sasha stood at the head, folder in hand, scanning the table littered with Tatiana's subtle improvements. She had studied every change, every spreadsheet tweak, every whisper of influence Tatiana had sown into the company. Today, she would reclaim control, on her terms. Tatiana strolled in, casual, confident, as if she owned the room. Morning, Ice Queen. I see you've been plotting. Sasha didn't flinch. Observing. Strategizing. And correcting where necessary. Tatiana's grin widened. Ah, yes. The thrill of control. Sasha walked around the table, circling Tatiana like a predator. Exactly. And you're about to learn why Wawal responds to me, not charming interlopers who leave trails of glittering chaos. Tatiana leaned forward slightly, tilting her head. Glittering chaos, Sounds appealing. Dangerous. Like you. Sasha stopped, just close enough that Tatiana's perfume brushed her senses. Her storm gray eyes were sharp, commanding, and yet there was that flicker of something else, that tension that made her pulse quicken. I am not here to play games, Sasha said, low, steady. I am here to make sure this company runs efficiently, profitably, under my command. Tatiana's grin deepened. And yet, somehow, you're standing so close I can see the fire in your eyes. Control doesn't always look like this. Sasha's fingers brushed Tatiana's as she reached for a document, sparks dancing up her arm. She froze for just a heartbeat, then took a deep breath and forced herself to stay composed. Step back. Or what? Tatiana teased, eyes glimmering with mischief. You'll issue me a written warning? Or will you deal with me in person? Sasha's lips twitched, a dangerous smirk forming. You'll find out. Slowly. And painfully. Tatiana leaned just a fraction closer, daring, intimate. I do love a challenge, Sasha. Especially when the challenge is breathtaking. Sasha's pulse hit a rapid rhythm. She wanted to retreat, wanted to assert absolute dominance, yet every inch of her wanted to stay, wanted to test the sparks, wanted to see how far Tatiana could push. Fine, Sasha said finally, voice clipped, commanding. You keep your flair. But only under my oversight. One misstep, and I'll know. Tatiana's grin was triumphant, wicked, and just shy of victorious. Oversight, she said softly, voice almost a whisper, sounds deliciously restrictive. I like a little pressure. Sasha's storm gray eyes locked on her, fierce, calculating, but the air between them vibrated with unspoken electricity. Strategy, dominance, and desire all collided. She had reclaimed control, but she knew, deep down, the war was far from over. Marian peeked in from the doorway, smirking as usual. Oh, this is getting spicy. I should bring popcorn next time. Sasha glared at her friend, but didn't move. Tatiana's blue eyes sparkled, the corner of her lips curved in satisfaction, and the unspoken challenge lingered. This was only round 1. Chapter 16. The Audacious Play. The atrium of Wobble Publishing buzzed with energy. Employees milled about, discussing projects, schedules, and deadlines, blissfully unaware that the air itself carried a storm. Sasha arrived, storm gray eyes sharp, heels clicking like percussion on polished marble. She had rehearsed her plans for today, each move calculated, precise. The staff would see control, efficiency, dominance. Nothing would surprise her. Except, of course, Tatiana. Tatiana stood at the center of the open space, casually addressing a small group of mid-level managers, tablet in hand. Her presence was magnetic, her blue eyes sparkling, her voice calm, persuasive. Every word drew attention, every gesture subtle yet commanding. Sasha's chest tightened. So public? This wasn't a boardroom skirmish. This was a declaration. Tatiana caught Sasha's storm gray gaze, smirk curving her lips. Ice Queen. Arrived early. How observant of you. Sasha strode forward, circling Tatiana as if she were a predator sizing up prey. Miss Palma. This isn't a show. Wobble is a company, not a stage. Tatiana tilted her head, teasing. Oh, but leadership is always a performance, don't you think? And I do love a captivated audience. Sasha clenched her fists, but the closer she stepped, the more Tatiana's presence unnerved her, not because she felt threatened, but because she felt something else. Every calculated nerve in Sasha's body hummed, alert and aware. Tatiana held up the tablet. I've implemented a pilot mentorship program across departments. Voluntary, but participation already exceeds expectations. Productivity metrics are improving without disrupting current operations. Imagine the impact if fully adopted. Sasha's lips pressed into a thin line. Clever. Bold. Too bold. She was cornered, publicly, strategically, and painfully aware of how Tatiana's proximity set her nerves alight. Publicly, Sasha said, voice low but cutting, this is audacious. Impressive. But don't mistake audacity for authority. Tatiana leaned in slightly, their shoulders brushing. Sparks. Unmistakable. Sasha's pulse surged. Authority isn't claimed, Tatiana whispered, voice teasing, it's earned. Sometimes, through daring. Sasha's storm gray eyes flared. You're playing a dangerous game. And yet, Tatiana's blue eyes gleamed, you're paying attention. That's what counts. Sasha exhaled slowly, a faint smirk tugging at the corner of her mouth. Damn her. Tatiana had forced her hand, demonstrated influence over the staff, and tested her patience, all while teasing her to the brink of something Sasha didn't want to name. Marian appeared at the side, smirking broadly. Oh, I do love the sparks. Ice Queen looks unsettled. And that, my dear friends, is entertaining. Sasha shot her a glare that could melt steel. Tatiana simply smiled, radiant, unshaken. Their eyes locked, storm meeting calm fire, challenge against challenge, and everyone else in the atrium might as well have been invisible. Because in that space, amidst reports, deadlines, and polished floors, the real battle was electric, intimate, and far more dangerous than any spreadsheet could ever be. Chapter 17. The Doorway. The office was quiet. Too quiet. Sasha sat behind her massive oak desk, storm gray eyes sharp, fingers steepled, replaying the audacity of Tatiana's public maneuver. She had to address it, privately. The knock on the door was soft. Enter, Sasha said, voice clipped but steady. Tatiana stepped in, casual as ever, confidence radiating from her every movement. Ice Queen. I trust the atrium performance didn't bore you. Sasha stood, walking around the desk slowly, watching her. I want to discuss your tactics today. Tatiana's smirk widened. I thought we were collaborating, Sasha. You seemed intrigued. I'm intrigued, Sasha admitted, her voice low, deliberate. But there's a line. Influence is one thing, audacity in public is another. And you crossed it. Tatiana leaned against the edge of the desk, eyes glinting with challenge. Crossed it, I prefer tested it. And you? Sasha's lips pressed into a thin line. She circled closer, feeling the pull, the sharp, electric pull that Tatiana always seemed to provoke. I'm considering a countermeasure. Tatiana's blue eyes sparkled, dangerously playful. Oh? Should I be afraid? Sasha didn't answer verbally. She moved closer, her storm gray eyes locking on Tatiana's. Tatiana stepped forward as well, closing the distance. Sparks flew, literal, metaphorical. The room seemed to shrink around them. You pushed too far, Sasha said, voice low, dangerous. And yet, Tatiana murmured, leaning closer, you haven't pushed me away. Sasha's breath hitched, control and desire battling in her chest. When Tatiana leaned in just a fraction more, Sasha's patience snapped, in the most delicious way. With a swift, fluid motion, Sasha pressed Tatiana against the door. Her storm gray eyes burned with intent. Tatiana froze, wide-eyed, then tilted her face up. The electricity between them crackled, thick and dangerous. Sasha's lips crashed onto hers, hard, urgent, demanding. A spark ignited, raw and undeniable, as if every suppressed tension, every verbal duel, every brush of hands had led to this single, scorching moment. Tatiana's initial surprise melted into reciprocation, lips parting, hands finding the curve of Sasha's back. The kiss was a collision, fire and ice, control and surrender, desire and challenge all at once. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Sasha pressed her forehead to Tatiana's. Storm gray met blue, sharp eyes softened by heat. This can't happen, Sasha said, voice a harsh whisper, though the tension in her body betrayed her. Tatiana's smirk returned, wicked, satisfied. Why not? I thought you liked challenges. Sasha's fists clenched, pulse raging, but she couldn't look away. Challenge, yes. Losing control? Not so much. Tatiana leaned in again, just close enough to whisper against her ear, control is overrated, darling. Sometimes, it's much more thrilling to let sparks fly. And with that, the corporate battlefield had just become a war of fire, ice, and undeniable desire. Chapter 18, After the Spark. Sasha sat at her desk, storm gray eyes staring at a spreadsheet she barely registered. Her mind replayed the kiss, hard, urgent, electric, impossibly Tatiana. She clenched her fists, trying to regain control, trying to remind herself this was a company, a strategy, not a playground for desire. The knock on her office door was soft. Enter, Sasha said, voice clipped, sharper than intended. Tatiana slipped inside, casual, confident, as if nothing had just happened, blue eyes sparkling with barely concealed amusement. Morning, Tatiana said lightly, perched on the edge of the desk again, legs crossed, smile teasing. You look reflective. Sasha's storm gray eyes didn't leave her. I'm contemplating the limits of your audacity. Tatiana's grin widened. Oh? You don't mind if I push a little further? Sasha rose, stalking around the desk, forcing the words out with precision. Mind? Yes. Allow? Absolutely not. Tatiana's gaze followed her, playful and daring. And yet, here I am. Sasha pinched the bridge of her nose, exhaling slowly. That kiss, she muttered, low, almost under her breath, was unnecessary. Tatiana leaned forward, smirk twitching. Unnecessary? Or inevitable? Sasha's lips pressed into a thin line, stormy, conflicted. This is Wawel Publishing, not whatever this is. Tatiana replied, voice melodic, teasing, but the best strategies are forged in chaos and tension. Isn't that right, Ice Queen? Sasha's storm gray eyes narrowed, body tense. Focus. The company, Tatiana. Wawel. Tatiana's smile softened slightly, but her gaze remained magnetic. Of course, the company. But I can't help noticing how easily distracted you are. Sasha clenched her fists, heat creeping up her neck, chest tightening. I am not distracted. Tatiana purred, voice dipping, intimate. Not distracted at all. Yet you keep glancing at me. Sasha's pulse quickened. Her mind, her control, her carefully structured world, all subtly frayed by Tatiana's presence. "I observe patterns," Sasha muttered, voice clipped. Tatiana leaned in just slightly, brushing Sasha's hand as she reached for a folder. "Sparks, undeniable. Observation can be enlightening or dangerous." Sasha froze, breath catching, storm gray eyes darkening with a mixture of frustration and something she couldn't name. "I'll handle it," she said sharply. "And you, stay within the boundaries." Tatiana's grin widened, wicked, teasing. "Boundaries are flexible, darling. I prefer to test them. Strategically, of course." Sasha let out a sharp exhale, retreating to her chair, fingers steepled over her desk. She was simultaneously furious, exhilarated, and aware, acutely aware, that every glance, every word, every touch from Tatiana was now a battlefield she didn't fully control. Marian poked her head in, smirking. "The sparks are still flying. Should I bring marshmallows this time?" Sasha shot her a lethal glare, but didn't look away from Tatiana. Tatiana simply smiled, victorious and unrepentant. In the quiet aftermath, the company might have been running smoothly, but Sasha's carefully ordered world had just become dangerously unpredictable. And deep down, she loved the challenge. Chapter 19: Collision and Harmony. The boardroom buzzed with quiet activity. Reports, charts, and deadlines sprawled across polished wood. Sasha and Tatiana stood at opposite ends, each commanding attention in her own way. Sasha, precise, sharp, authoritative. Tatiana, fluid, persuasive, radiant with confident charm. Sasha presented first, crisp, analytical, decisive. Tatiana followed with her flair, innovative, subtle, pulling teams together in ways Sasha hadn't anticipated. For the first time, Sasha noticed it, the gaps she had never thought to fill, the energy Tatiana brought, the way employees leaned in, inspired. Marian watched from the side, smirking. "Interesting, isn't it? Ice Queen finally noticing something." Sasha's storm gray eyes flicked toward her friend. "Shut up, Marian." Marian raised an eyebrow, leaning casually against the wall. You're distracted." "Again." "By her." Sasha pinched the bridge of her nose, letting out a slow exhale. "It's not that. She's competent. Dangerous in the best possible way. Her methods are unconventional. But they work." Tatiana glanced at Sasha mid-discussion, her blue eyes sparkling, reading her subtle approval without a word. Sasha felt her chest tighten, both from admiration and the lingering pull from that kiss in the doorway. After the meeting, the room emptied. Sasha and Marian lingered behind. "You know," Sasha muttered, voice low, storm gray eyes on Marian, "I think this might actually work. Our styles. Together. It's efficient, unexpected, and terrifyingly effective." Marian grinned, smug, knowingly. "I told you. Sometimes, the right chaos complements the right control." Who knew the Ice Queen had a soft spot for brilliance disguised as chaos? Sasha glared, but the ghost of a smile tugged at her lips. "Don't push your luck." Marian laughed. "Oh, I'm just observing. But seeing the two of you, strategizing, clashing, actually complementing each other, it's beautiful. And deadly." Sasha exhaled, stormy eyes softened just fractionally. "Yes, beautiful and deadly. Just like her." Marian smirked wider. "Careful, Ice Queen. You're dangerously close to admitting more than just admiration for her corporate brilliance." Sasha didn't respond, letting the thought linger, unspoken, delicious, and undeniably present. Outside, the city thrummed. Inside, the balance of power shifted, a perfect, unpredictable collision of fire and ice, of order and chaos, of strategy and seduction. Together, they were unstoppable. Chapter 20: The Gala. The grand ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers, polished marble, and the hum of clinking glasses. Wawel Publishing's annual gala was in full swing. Investors, clients, and staff mingled beneath the golden glow. Sasha entered first, the picture of composed elegance, tailored black gown hugging her figure, storm gray eyes scanning the room like a hawk. Control was her armor, precision her shield. And then she saw her. Tatiana. A vision of platinum blonde radiance, in a deep sapphire dress that clung in all the right places, flowing elegantly with each step. Her hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders, her blue eyes sparkling as they caught the light, and Sasha's breath hitched. The air between them seemed to warp. Time slowed. Sasha's heels clicked against marble as she walked toward her, mind a swirl of professional composure and utterly uncontrolled desire. Tatiana's gaze met hers, and that wicked, teasing smile curved her lips. "You look formidable," she murmured, voice soft but teasing. Sasha's lips twitched. "You look dangerous," she said, words clipped, yet the heat in her storm gray eyes betrayed her. Tatiana took a deliberate step closer, just close enough to brush Sasha's arm. Sparks danced up Sasha's spine, sharp, thrilling, impossible to ignore. "Shall we step somewhere quieter?" Tatiana suggested, voice intimate, inviting. Sasha's chest tightened. The pull, the tension, the memory of the doorway kiss all collided. "Yes," she breathed, almost a whisper. The private corridor outside the ballroom offered solitude, the soft golden light a warm contrast to the glittering chaos behind them. Tatiana turned, facing Sasha fully, blue eyes smoldering. "You've been trying to keep control," Tatiana said, stepping closer, deliberately, "but some things can't be contained." Sasha's storm gray eyes darkened, desire and frustration warring in her gaze. When Tatiana leaned in just a fraction, Sasha's hand shot out, pressing Tatiana firmly against the wall. The kiss this time was different, hard, urgent, demanding, as if every ounce of tension, every teasing glance, every electric touch since the doorway had exploded in that single, searing collision. Tatiana responded instantly, lips parting, hands tangling in Sasha's hair and jacket. Heat and chemistry, control and surrender, all burning at once. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Sasha pressed her forehead against Tatiana's, storm gray eyes meeting blue. "This isn't proper," Sasha whispered, voice rough. Tatiana smirked, wicked and knowing. "Whoever said proper was interesting?" Sasha's lips twitched, a dangerous, reluctant smile tugging at them. "No," she admitted, voice low, "but necessary for survival." Tatiana leaned in, just close enough to whisper against her ear, "Survival is overrated. Thrills are much more fun." And as the distant music of the gala floated through the corridor, the tension, the attraction, and the war of wills between Sasha and Tatiana reached a fever pitch, a storm no rules could tame. Chapter 21. Late night in the boardroom. The office was quiet. Empty. Only the hum of the city beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows and the soft glow of desk lamps illuminated the sleek lines of Wawel's boardroom. Sasha's storm gray eyes scanned the documents she should have been reviewing, but the only thing occupying her mind was the faint memory of Tatiana's sapphire dress, the way her laughter lingered, the brush of her hand in the corridor. A soft knock on the door startled her almost. "Come in," Sasha called, voice low, commanding. Tatiana slipped inside, confident, casual, deadly in the way she moved. Blue eyes glittering in the lamplight. "You left the gala early," she teased. "Not enjoying yourself or missing me?" Sasha's lips twitched. "A little of both," she admitted, voice clipped. "But mostly, wanting to ensure you don't turn the office into a playground." Tatiana leaned against the table, crossing her legs, smirk teasing. "Playground? Oh, Sasha. I prefer controlled chaos." Sasha's pulse quickened, storm gray eyes darkening with intent. "You want chaos?" she asked, voice low, deliberate. "I can give you chaos." Tatiana's smirk widened, daring. "Oh? And just how do you plan to give it to me?" Without a word, Sasha strode forward, closing the distance in long, purposeful strides. Tatiana's gaze followed every move, playful yet anticipating. When Sasha reached the table, she paused, then suddenly pressed Tatiana against it, hands firm on her waist, storm gray eyes blazing. "Control, Tatiana," Sasha whispered, voice rough. "I control this." I control everything here, including you. Tatiana's lips curved into a wicked grin. Oh, I like it when you take control. Sasha. And then Sasha leaned in, lips crashing against hers hard, demanding urgent. Hands roamed her curves, tangling in her hair, pressing her closer. Tatiana responded instantly, hands gripping the edge of the boardroom table, blue eyes dark with desire, lips parting to meet Sasha's. Verbal sparring became moans and whispers. You think you can handle me? Tatiana teased, voice breathless. I am handling you, Sasha growled, lips moving against hers. But don't test me. Tatiana laughed softly, teasing, shivering under Sasha's control. Oh, I will test you. That's half the fun. The city lights stretched beyond the windows, distant hums of traffic and nightlife fading as the two of them surrendered to their secret, dangerous, deliciously forbidden connection. Boardroom rules forgotten, professional facades abandoned, only Stormgrey and Sapphire remained locked in a storm of desire, control, and lust. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Sasha's Stormgrey eyes softened just fractionally, hands still holding Tatiana close. You're impossible, Sasha murmured, voice rough, almost a whisper. Tatiana's grin was victorious, teasing. And yet, irresistible. Sasha pressed a kiss to her temple, a dangerous promise in the quiet room. This stays between us. Understood. Tatiana's blue eyes glimmered, mischievous and satisfied. Understood, for now. Chapter 22, After Hours. The office was quiet again, a different kind of quiet this time. The hum of the HVAC, the soft glow of city lights through the floor-to-ceiling windows, and the distant pulse of nightlife beyond the building. Perfect for dangerous games. Sasha leaned against her desk, arms crossed, storm-gray eyes scanning the skyline, but thinking of only one thing. Tatiana. That smile, those blue eyes, the way she moved as if the world belonged entirely to her. A soft click announced the door opening. Late again, Sasha murmured, though her voice held something closer to amusement than scolding. Tatiana stepped inside, radiant, casual, yet magnetic as ever. You called, she said, smirk teasing. Or did I just sense you missing me? Sasha's storm-gray eyes darkened. You know I don't miss people. Oh, but you do, Tatiana replied, walking closer, deliberately close, letting Sasha feel every tempting nuance. You just haven't admitted it yet. Sasha inhaled sharply, brushing a strand of Tatiana's platinum hair behind her ear, fingers grazing her jaw. Sparks. Immediate, undeniable, and dangerously electric. Tatiana's smirk deepened. You're thinking about that boardroom kiss. Don't deny it. I saw it in your eyes. Sasha's lips twitched into a fleeting smirk. I'm strategic. I analyze patterns, anticipate moves. That was part of the pattern. Tatiana laughed softly, stepping closer. Is that what you call it? Patterns. Before Sasha could respond, Tatiana leaned in, brushing her lips against Sasha's in a fleeting, teasing kiss. Just a whisper of a touch. Enough to make Sasha's breath hitch, pulse race, and control slip slightly. Storm-gray eyes met Sapphire. Sasha's hand gripped Tatiana's wrist lightly. You're reckless, she growled. Maybe, Tatiana purred, leaning closer, body brushing Sasha's. Or maybe, I'm exactly what you need. Sasha's pulse surged. Every professional boundary, every carefully maintained control, every stern, corporate exterior was cracking under the weight of desire. You're impossible, Sasha murmured, voice low, almost a growl. And yet, irresistible, Tatiana whispered, tilting her head, blue eyes glittering in the soft office light. Before Sasha could resist, Tatiana pressed closer again, letting their bodies brush, teasing a hunger that had only grown since the boardroom. Their hands tangled, lips brushing in fleeting, feverish touches, a dance of power, teasing, and raw attraction. This must stay secret, Sasha whispered, storm-gray eyes fierce yet dark with want. Tatiana smirked, confident, victorious. Secrets are delicious, especially when they're dangerous. And as the city pulsed below, Sasha realized the boardroom battles, the strategic maneuvers, the verbal sparring, none of it mattered now. All that mattered was this: them, electric, dangerous, and inevitable. Chapter 23: Boardroom Fire. The city skyline shimmered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, lights reflected in polished surfaces. The office was silent except for the faint hum of the ventilation, perfect, private, and dangerously inviting. Sasha leaned against the edge of the boardroom table, storm-gray eyes fixed on Tatiana, who stood opposite her, smirk teasing, posture deliberately provocative. The memory of earlier brushes, fleeting touches, and stolen kisses made Sasha's chest tighten. "You're impossible," Sasha murmured, voice low, clipped, almost growling. "And yet, irresistible," Tatiana replied, stepping closer, letting her hand brush Sasha's as she reached for a glass of water. Sparks danced instantly. Sasha's control snapped, almost violently. She closed the distance, pressing Tatiana against the table, boardroom polished and gleaming beneath them. Her hands gripped Tatiana's hips, pulling her flush against her. "Control, Tatiana," Sasha growled, storm-gray eyes blazing. "I am in control." Tatiana's smirk widened, wicked and knowing. "Oh, I like it when you take control." "Sasha, don't stop." Sasha's lips crushed against hers, hard, urgent, demanding. Tatiana's hands tangled in Sasha's hair, tugging lightly, pressing closer. The kiss was electric, a storm of desire that neither could contain. "You think you can handle me?" Tatiana teased between heated kisses, voice breathless. "I am handling you," Sasha growled, teeth grazing her lower lip as she deepened the kiss, one hand slipping to the curve of Tatiana's back. "But don't test me." Tatiana laughed softly, a low, sultry sound, shivering under Sasha's dominance. "Oh, I will test you. That's half the fun." Sasha's storm-gray eyes darkened with want and challenge. "Fun ends where I say it ends," she whispered, pressing Tatiana harder against the table. "And right now, you're mine." Tatiana's breath hitched, blue eyes dark and smoldering, lips parting to meet Sasha's again. "Mine, too," she murmured. "For tonight, Ice Queen." Their bodies pressed together, the polished boardroom table serving as stage, their verbal sparring mixing with urgent, teasing kisses and heated touches. Every brush of skin, every whispered word, stoked the fire, and the city outside could wait. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Sasha's forehead rested against Tatiana's, storm-gray eyes softened by want yet still sharp with dominance. In the quiet of the boardroom, the corporate battlefield had transformed into something much more primal: power, desire, challenge, and surrender colliding in an unstoppable storm. Chapter 24: Sparks at Work. The office hummed with activity, yet an electric undercurrent flowed between Sasha and Tatiana. Every meeting, every shared strategy session, every discussion about Wawel's expansion was punctuated by subtle touches, a hand brushing against the other, a fleeting look that lingered longer than it should. The thrill of knowing they were dancing on fire and control at once. Sasha stood at the whiteboard, explaining quarterly projections, voice clipped and precise. Tatiana leaned against the edge of the desk, smirking, eyes sparkling with that familiar mischievous light. "Interesting approach," Tatiana murmured, voice teasing as her hand accidentally or deliberately touched Sasha's arm. "Sparks. Interesting." Sasha shot her a look, storm-gray eyes flashing. "It's called strategy. Perhaps you've misread it." Tatiana's grin widened. "Oh no, I completely understand. But there's always room for adjustments." Every glance, every brush, every verbal jab was a game of seduction disguised as professional collaboration. The thrill of the chase, that dangerous, forbidden energy, made both of them sharper, faster, and more in sync than ever. But Marian, ever the keen observer, had noticed subtle changes in Sasha, the way her lips twitched around Tatiana, the flicker of stormy gray softening when Tatiana was near, the almost imperceptible anticipation in her steps. After a particularly heated strategy session, Marian cornered Sasha in the empty hallway. So Marian began, hands on her hips, smirk teasing. Care to explain why you've been walking around with that permanent distraction in your eyes? Sasha froze, storm gray eyes narrowing, trying to regain composure. What distraction? Marian raised an eyebrow, stepping closer. The one that appears every time Tatiana walks into a room. Or touches your arm. Or breathes in your vicinity. Sasha's jaw tightened, fingers clenching into fists. She's professional. Talented. And not a distraction. Marian laughed softly, shaking her head. Ice Queen, don't lie to me. I've known you too long. You're changed. And it's not subtle anymore. Sasha's lips pressed into a thin line, but she didn't deny it. Instead, she let out a low exhale, storm gray eyes briefly softening as if conceding, just slightly. She's complicated, Sasha muttered, voice low, almost grudging. And challenging. But she paused, storm gray eyes flicking toward the office doors where Tatiana had disappeared. I think this might actually work. Marian grinned, victorious. There it is. The Ice Queen admits she's not entirely immune to chaos. Or brilliance. Or both. Sasha huffed softly, smirking reluctantly. Just don't tell anyone. Marian laughed, patting her friend's shoulder. Don't worry. Your secret's safe, for now. But you're having far too much fun to pretend otherwise. Outside, the office buzzed on. Inside, Sasha and Tatiana's game of fire, chase, and stolen moments had transformed from forbidden desire to a dangerous, exhilarating collaboration, where every glance, touch, and flirtation sharpened both their minds and hearts. Chapter 25, Firestorm. The conference room was a war zone of projections, reports, and ringing phones. A last-minute acquisition had gone sideways, investors panicked, media sniffed, and the board demanded answers. The clock ticked mercilessly toward midnight, but Sasha and Tatiana stood side by side, every bit as fierce and uncompromising as the storm outside. You handle the legal fallout, Sasha barked, storm gray eyes razor-sharp. I'll stabilize the investors. No mistakes. Tatiana smirked, brushing a strand of platinum hair behind her ear, voice teasing but commanding. You mean I get to watch you in action, and perhaps steal a few strategic moves while I'm at it? Sasha narrowed her eyes. Don't tempt me. Minutes stretched into hours. Every chart, every presentation, every carefully measured word tested both their professional acumen and the electric tension coiling between them. Hands brushed over documents. Shoulders pressed in close. Quick, heated glances lingered far longer than they should. Finally, after a particularly sharp exchange with a skeptical investor, Tatiana leaned in just slightly, voice soft but deliberate. We make a damn good team, Sasha. Admit it. Sasha's storm gray eyes met blue. Her pulse raced. Don't push it, she murmured, though her lips twitched. We're efficient, that's all. Tatiana's grin deepened. All? Sasha exhaled, a reluctant smirk tugging at her lips. All right, maybe a little more than that. Tatiana's eyes sparkled, dangerously victorious. She stepped closer, brushing Sasha's arm against hers, heart racing. A little more? More than a little, Sasha admitted, voice low, almost a growl. Her hands grazed Tatiana's, deliberately lingering. But this is still professional. Tatiana laughed softly, leaning in so close their foreheads almost touched. Professional doesn't mean we can't enjoy the fire, Sasha. The storm in Sasha's eyes softened, just fractionally. Enjoy, but discreetly, she whispered. Hours later, with the crisis finally under control, the office silent except for their ragged breathing and the city lights outside, Sasha turned fully to Tatiana. Storm gray eyes dark, commanding, vulnerable all at once. Enough, Sasha murmured, voice rough, compelling. No more hiding from each other. From this. Tatiana's blue eyes widened slightly, then softened, smiling wickedly. Finally. I thought you'd never ask. Sasha stepped forward, hands gripping Tatiana's waist, pressing her flush against her. Lips met, hard, urgent, claiming, yet tender in that exact balance that made both of them shiver. I want this, Sasha whispered against Tatiana's lips. Us. Fully. No more games. Tatiana's hands tangled in Sasha's hair, body pressing against hers. Us. Fully, she echoed, voice husky, breathless. And I'll make it worth every risk. In the quiet office, high above the city, the storm of desire and professional fire merged two forces, unstoppable together. And finally, the secret was out. Their connection was no longer whispers and stolen touches, it was a full-blown, blazing, undeniable bond. Chapter 26. Out in the Open. A year has passed. The annual Wawel Publishing Gala returned, but this time, Sasha and Tatiana were arriving together. Not just side by side, but unapologetically connected. Their partnership was no longer a secret, but the spark, the playfulness, the electricity, all still there. Sasha adjusted the cuff of her sleeve, storm gray eyes scanning the room, mind sharp as ever. Tatiana slid a hand into hers, playful, teasing, whispering, holding hands in public is very scandalous. Sasha's lips twitched. Good, she murmured, squeezing just slightly, I like scandal. The room buzzed with guests, investors, and journalists. Whispers circulated as eyes flicked to the duo. Murmurs of admiration, surprise, and intrigue followed them as they navigated the crowd, but Sasha's gaze never left Tatiana's. Formal acknowledgement. Check, Tatiana whispered, leaning in, lips brushing Sasha's ear, but I'd still prefer more private celebrations later. Sasha's lips curved into that rare, wicked smile. Later, indeed. Throughout the evening, their playful banter and stolen touches punctuated formal speeches, clinking glasses, and networking. A brush of a hand here, a teasing whisper there. Every glance said what words couldn't, storm gray and sapphire locked in a language all their own. Marian, ever the keen observer, couldn't help but smirk from across the room. She nudged an unsuspecting executive. See that? Ice Queen and her, Firebrand. Officially a thing. And trust me, chaos has never looked so damn good. Sasha caught her gaze briefly, smirking back. Keep your mouth shut, Marian, she murmured, though the flash of amusement in her storm gray eyes betrayed her. Later, during a quiet moment on the balcony, city lights reflecting in the river below, Tatiana leaned close. You're smiling, openly. That's dangerous for you, Ice Queen. Sasha's storm gray eyes softened, fingers brushing Tatiana's cheek. Dangerous, yes. But worth it, she whispered, leaning in to steal a soft, lingering kiss under the city lights. Tatiana laughed softly, mischievous. I do like it when you admit some things are worth the risk. Sasha's lips twitched into a rare grin. Just don't get used to it, she murmured, though her hand stayed entwined with Tatiana's, her storm gray eyes gleaming with desire, mischief, and something rare, complete surrender. And in that moment, above the city, the boardroom battles, secret encounters, and stolen kisses all coalesced into something unstoppable, a partnership, a love, a fire they no longer had to hide. Chapter 27. Full Circle. The office was alive with energy. Wawel Publishing had not only survived the chaos of the acquisition and Tatiana's arrival, but had begun to flourish under the joint leadership of Sasha and Tatiana. Reports, projections, and investor meetings blurred into a seamless rhythm, yet the undercurrent between them remained as sharp, thrilling, and undeniable as ever. Sasha leaned back in her chair, storm gray eyes watching Tatiana across the room as she presented a daring new initiative to the team. Every gesture, every smirk, every confident movement of Tatiana's drew Sasha's attention like a magnet. Tatiana caught her gaze mid-presentation, flashing a subtle, teasing grin. Watching me, Ice Queen? I'm observing, Sasha replied, voice clipped but charged, storm gray eyes dark with amusement. Strategically. Tatiana stepped closer under the guise of reviewing documents, brushing her hip against Sasha's in that deliberate, thrilling way that never failed to make Sasha's pulse race. Marian, leaning against the doorframe with an unamused smirk, muttered under her breath, oh, they're irreversibly addicted to each other. Sasha's lips twitched in a rare grin. Marian, she murmured, storm gray eyes narrowing playfully, keep your commentary professional. The afternoon dissolved into a private boardroom moment, papers forgotten as Sasha and Tatiana's hands found each other again. Stolen kisses replaced strategic pointers. Stormgray met Sapphire, laughter mingling with the hum of the city outside. "This," Tatiana whispered, tracing a finger along Sasha's jawline. "All of it. Chaos, fire, tension. It works, Sasha. You and me. Together." Sasha leaned in, pressing her forehead to Tatiana's, storm-gray eyes soft yet storming with intensity. "I didn't think it could. But it does. You make it work in ways I didn't imagine." Tatiana smiled, bold, confident, a little wicked. "Good. Because I'm not leaving anytime soon." Sasha's lips curved into a grin, one hand brushing a strand of platinum hair behind Tatiana's ear. "Then neither am I." The storm of desire, intellect, and playfulness had finally fused into harmony in the office, in the boardroom, in life. Epilogue: Fire and Strategy. Months later, the city skyline gleamed as Sasha and Tatiana arrived at a joint press conference, not just partners in business, but partners in life. Hand in hand, sharp suits replaced evening gowns, yet the flirtation, fire, and banter never left. Sasha's storm-gray eyes caught Tatiana's sapphire ones as a reporter asked about their success. Tatiana leaned close, whispering with a grin, ready to steal the show. Sasha smirked, gripping her hand tightly. "Always." Their eyes met, laughter and sparks shared silently, the thrill of their game, chase and fire forever alive, proof that some partnerships are meant to ignite worlds, both in business and in love. Marian, ever the observer, whispered from the side, "I knew it. Chaos looks spectacular when you're in love with it." Tatiana kissed Sasha's cheek, smirk lingering, teasing as ever. "And I never plan to stop." Stormgray and Sapphire, fire and strategy, Ice Queen and Firebrand, unstoppable, inseparable, unashamed. The city below may have been theirs to watch, but their world belonged entirely to each other. The city glittered below like a field of diamonds, reflected in the glass walls of their shared office, their domain, their kingdom. Wawel Publishing thrived under their combined vision, Sasha's ruthless efficiency and Tatiana's daring creativity, perfectly balanced, unstoppable. Tonight, however, the office was theirs alone. No reports, no projections, no investors, just Stormgray and Sapphire, fire and strategy. Tatiana leaned against the desk, smirking, brushing a hand over Sasha's arm. "You know, we make chaos look elegant." Sasha's lips quirked in that rare, confident grin. "We make everything look efficient." Her storm-gray eyes glimmered, sharp yet soft. "Anne, I'm not finished with you." Tatiana arched an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh? Do tell, Ice Queen." Sasha stepped closer, hands brushing Tatiana's waist, voice low, commanding. "I like control. I like strategy. But some things I want to do my way and no one else's." Tatiana's lips twitched. "I'm listening." With a decisive motion, Sasha pulled a small, sleek black box from her jacket pocket, understated, powerful, precise, very Sasha. She dropped to one knee, storm-gray eyes locked on Tatiana's blue, smoldering and fearless. "Tatiana Palma," Sasha began, voice strong, unflinching. "I've built empires. I've conquered chaos. I've made the impossible happen. But there's one venture I refuse to risk failure on, and that's us. Will you build a life with me? Will you be my partner in business, in battle, and in love forever?" Tatiana's breath hitched, eyes wide, then sparkling. "Sasha Rostislavovna, do you realize the audacity of this?" "I do," Sasha replied, smirk tugging her lips, "and it's exactly why you belong with me." Laughter, tears, and the spark of undeniable love filled the room as Tatiana leaned down, pressing their foreheads together. "Yes," she whispered, voice husky, "yes to everything. Forever." The city lights reflected in their shared triumph, their private storm of passion, and the beginning of a new legacy. In the months that followed, they merged lives as seamlessly as they merged companies. Boardroom battles and late-night strategy sessions became punctuated with stolen touches, private victories, and laughter echoing through the halls. Together, They built a legacy of innovation, audacity, and love, shaping not just Wawel Publishing, but the world around them. Days turned to nights of strategy, laughter, and desire. Meetings blended seamlessly with stolen touches. Boardroom battles were punctuated by teasing glances, lingering fingers, and kisses that left both gasping and wanting more. One quiet night, tangled in silk sheets, Sasha rested against Tatiana in their bed, storm gray eyes soft, tracing gentle patterns across soft skin. Tatiana rolled onto her side, a mischievous grin curling her lips. "Remember one night, late hours, boardroom. The table?" she murmured, voice teasing yet intimate. Sasha's lips twitched, recalling the stolen, urgent passion that had become their language. "How could I forget?" Tatiana leaned in, brushing a whisper of a kiss along Sasha's jaw. "Maybe we should add to the family someday. Just strategic planning." Sasha smirked, playful yet tender, storm gray eyes glimmering with love and mischief. "You mean, continue our legacy, our way?" Tatiana's laugh was soft, intimate. "Exactly. Our way." And so, in the quiet intimacy of their life together, the Ice Queen and the Firebrand had it all: empire, love, passion, and a future they would design together, unstoppable, untamed, unashamed. Stormgrey and Sapphire, fire and strategy, love and legacy. Theirs, finally, forever. Together, they built more than an empire. They built a legacy of fire and desire, ambition tempered by love, power intertwined with passion, and a future they would shape hand in hand. Their empire wasn't just Maze International anymore, it was a life fully theirs, unpredictable, daring, and utterly unforgettable. And in every glance, every touch, every shared smile, Sasha and Tatiana knew one truth: the strongest empires are built not on control or conquest, but on love, fire, and the courage to chase desire without restraint. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and like this video and follow me for more stories. You are always welcome here, and leave me a comment or a thumbs up, just letting me know if you like the story and would like more, or is there perhaps an idea that you would like to share or let me write for you.